This is Megan Hall from the Inspired Women podcast. And what I love about the Business Building Rockstar Show is the wealth of information that Nicole and her guests share on the podcast. I walk away inspired after every single episode I listen to. Thank you, Nicole.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Business Building Rockstar Show. I'm your host, Nicole Holland, and I'm super excited to have you joining me here today. I am talking with my good friend, Lou Diamond. He is a speaker, coach, consultant, best-selling author, and motivator. He was a top producer for firms such as Accenture, Omnicorp, Merrill Lynch, and Bank of America, leading teams to achieve record revenues year after year. Lou founded Thrive, a leading consulting and coaching company focused on making the most incredible leaders and top performers connect to thrive. Most recently, he launched Thrive Loud, a weekly podcast, and actually, I think it's got a couple more than just once a week now, and we talk about that in the interview, but it's a weekly podcast dedicated to inspiring people to reach their peak potential in every facet of their life. I had so much fun with Lou, and I hope that you will too. I will warn you that because we are friends, it's got a little bit personal, a little informal, as if my interviews aren't already informal enough, but we had some fun. But also, Lou gave some great takeaways and great actionable steps. And I was a little more vulnerable, I think, than usual about my own business challenges and experiences. So I hope that you enjoy this episode. I hope you get a lot out of it. We also talked about the new Listeners Lounge. And as I'm recording this, I just finished the interview with Lou. So at time of recording, there is no Listeners Lounge yet. It's a project we're working on in the back end here. But by the time this goes live, you guys should already be well versed on the Listeners Lounge. And I hope that you will sign up and that we will get to see you over there. And if so, you'll get to catch the video of Lou and I holding this interview, as well as the videos from many, many other guests and some that haven't even been released yet. So without further ado, here's my interview with Lou. All right. Thanks so much for joining us again on the Business Building Rockstar Show. I'm super excited to have one of my favorite people, Mr. Lou Diamond from Thrive Loud. How is it going today?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be fun. We were talking just before we hit the record button here, and I was like getting jacked. I'm like, I'm going on BBR with Nicole. This is spectacular. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. So let's start with just your backstory about, not backstory, but like, we'll get into that. But like, what are you doing now? I gave the audience your bio, but that's just a little snippet. So how are you serving and supporting people today in the highest and best way that you do?
Wow. I love that. We're doing lots of things. So let's start off that I love to work with the most amazing people and companies and make them even more amazing. I do that through my company Thrive, and where literally we are helping people to connect to thrive, and in some cases, thrive loud. And in a lot of these cases, I'm coaching and consulting top leaders, top performers to make them even more incredible. We have a whole philosophy on how we actually do that, which is we literally help them strengthen what I call the connecting core. And we go through each one of those muscles. And whether I speak to a large audience or a conference or event, or I'm doing some group workshops or one-on-one, that's the focus of what I've been on. And the podcast show, as you know, has really helped launch into a total different direction. But it's also helping me connect to the listeners with all these amazing people that are really thriving each and every day. So pairing that all together, this whole connecting to thrive is what Lou is all about. And it's been unbelievable. The companies and the people we've been working with, entrepreneurs, amazing professionals, really seasoned, serious executives as well, who are really digging down and figuring out how they can do a better job of connecting. Because as Nicole, you and I always talk about, the power of connection is really what helps grow your business. Sales is just like a speed bump along the way of what you're trying to achieve. I've set much bigger goals, and those connections are the way that I'm focused on helping people achieve them.
Absolutely. And you're so great at teaching about those, and you got a book about it, and you do so much about it.
I'm going to grab the book. It's right here. There we
awesome.
go. Little
for
marketing.
So for everybody who is in our listeners lounge and can see the videos, you can check out Master the Art of Connecting. And yeah, like I was just working with some students yesterday in my Rockstar Ready Academy. And this was the exact thing we were talking about, is it's not the sale necessarily to be focused on. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they focus on the marketing to sell their stuff. Whereas if you're really looking at the relationships that you can build, you may have a lead or a connection to somebody who is actually not a right fit for you as a client, but who could be a great collaborator or a referral partner or friend, or there's
Right.
so many different things. So when you come from a place, I think, of curiosity and exploration about who is this person, how can I serve them, not necessarily sell them, how can I serve them, even though sales is a way of service, I think that so much more can be accomplished in such a smaller amount of time, eh?
Yeah. I would even think the way I like to do it is that, and I do this for salespeople and the ones who are there have sales in their title. You're not actually selling. You're helping someone to buy. And that's the way that you have to think, is like, what can you do to improve that person's world? Whether that is your client that is trying to grow their business, whether you have an offering that you know will be additive to the world of the person you're trying to connect to. So I always make it about the connection, and the sale will come. In fact, the sale will come time and time again when you have a really strong connection. And that's who you want to do business with. We joke about it. For the listeners out there, Nicole and I are a close connection. We help each other with our own businesses, and we're always trying to figure out how to help one another grow. In fact, whether it's recommending guests for the show or for our client services or for what we do, we're always trying to figure out, how can I make Nicole's world better? That's what I'm thinking about. She doesn't, maybe not. We're trying to work her to think with how to make Lou's world better. But no, but in the same sense, that is exactly what it's about. So if we got out of the way about worrying about, oh, I got to make this number, or I got to close this deal, or if we got to get this thing signed, if you focus on how you need to be and then how you want to connect with your target, as I like to say, then they're naturally going to want to flow and connect to you. And that's where really the magic happens. And then you don't have to worry so much about the sale. You have to worry about the connection that you have and maintaining that each and every day.
Yes. And Lou calls on Nicole a lot when he gets stuck on tech stuff.
Oh my God. You have
just saying.
The listeners will know this, that some of the challenges of running a podcast show is not so much about the actual content and the guests, and you get the great stuff that goes on. There's all these little nuances and things that you will have. For instance, different recording mediums. Before we got on here, we had some technical issues. But my website was hacked several weeks ago, and now we've updated it. Thank you, Nicole. I've moved over to a totally different service provider, which is doing a great job. I just rechanged the URL of my company as well, so that everything is more in line with Thrive Loud. So all of that, those are advice that we need from people who are going through that same pain. And that's a strong connection that we have, because she laughs. She's like, uh-oh. She goes, Lou's doing something wrong. And what she will often do for those, the reason why she is the business rock star is because she volunteers her brilliance to you. And you're able to take it in, and you don't even have to go anywhere else. You know what? If Nicole says it's right, because she's done the research, she's done the study, and she's worked with all these different folks to help figure it out, I don't need to go anywhere else. So that's the type of connection that the two of us have. She's pouting at me. For those that are only listening in the video here, she's giving me this kind of face.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's very kind. Thank you. You know, I think this can lead into a question I have about what's the super why, but it's something that for me, you know, and we talked about this when I was on your podcast as well. And I'm at this sort of pivoting point with who I'm serving. I'm serving clients with larger businesses at this point, brick and mortars, corporate, who are just in a different space than the people who I have been working with historically. And it's a fun transition, but it's also a time where I need to pull a lot of stuff together. And as an online entrepreneur, I've gotten comfortable with people in my industry knowing who I am and not really having to, quote, sell myself, not having to really say, oh, I'm so great at this. And now I'm pivoting into a new arena. So it's like, okay, now I got to actually gather up the things that let other people talk about me. And so I've been gathering up all these testimonials. And yeah, we talked about this even in your podcast where you interviewed me about how everybody is kind of like, yeah, Nicole's the catalyst. Yeah, don't hire Nicole if you just want somebody to tell you you're doing the right thing, because she doesn't pull any punches. You know, she'll tell you what to do, and she'll tell you where it's a gap, and she'll tell you how to fix it. And so it's hard to hear. And I love that you say that. And I appreciate that. And I guess I know that about myself, but for so much of my life, that was seen as a bad thing. Like I was told, and I think kids are often told and young adults are told, shh, just don't be too loud, right? Try loud, but don't be too loud or pushy. You don't have to be right. So much of my life was about making me not right. So even though I could intuitively, and also just the way my brain works and my gifts and skills, I could see where people had gaps, but I had always to be really conscientious about not letting people know what I saw. And so it's always been a really weird thing. So now shifting, it's really nice to be working with people like you and like whether we're in relationship as colleagues and friends, mastermind partners, or clients, or even with my mentors. There's a lot of stuff that I help them with. And it's something that just from a personal standpoint, I'm not 100% comfortable always saying, hey, did you know this? Like, here's something I see that can be fixed. And so that's what the faces were all about for those in the listeners lounge who can see the video. And so thank you. I appreciate that. You're pushing my boundaries.
Yeah. And this is actually a good point for, you make connections as you grow as a professional. A lot of the people that I deal with, these are top performers who are selling. And then all of a sudden they're given the responsibility that they now have to manage and lead others. And how you connect in the role of a leader isn't that much different from the way you connect with clients, but it's also sometimes the advice on knowing what you need to strengthen in that connecting core as a leader. You need to seek other leaders and get their advice. That's why we have our network of people like ourselves and other top professionals that we can go to. And in those instances, we'll be able to then be almost like the student, so that we're actually learning how to absorb that information and then figure out how you can transpose that in a leadership style. So what I've always said about connecting, the best of what sales can be is how great you can connect. It's the same as it applies to the way you lead. Great leaders are master connectors, and they need to connect with the people that they are leading and taking them to the next level. So what we're actually doing is leaders are building the next level of master connectors as well. I was just a natural pause there just because it felt like it should be, I should breathe or something.
I was just sitting here taking notes and I just had myself muted. So awesome. Thank you. All right. We're just going to take a quick break from the conversation to hear a couple words from today's sponsor. For today's episode, I'm actually sponsoring it myself. And with that, I want to share with you about my one-day business breakthrough intensive. Let's face it, no matter what stage of business that we're at, there are always areas that could use a little bit of outside perspective, without which they hold us back from our goals. That's why the most successful people in the world have people that they turn to in order to optimize their resources and get unstuck fast. I'm Nicole Holland, host of the Business Building Rockstar Show, and this is one of the things I love doing for clients. It's helping them get really clear on the underlying issue that is manifesting all kinds of funky stuff in their life so that they can get more productive, more profitable, and more joyful as quickly as possible so they don't have to spend time trying to figure it all out. I have a unique way of honing in really fast on what's going on and spitting out a complete roadmap step by step to get out of that stuff, that sticky stuff, that gunk that's just holding them back. So whether it's processes or lead generation or conversion or any number of things, that is one of my innate gifts and how I serve my clients at my highest and best. So if you would like more information about the one-day breakthrough, visit bbrshow.com/ODB for one day breakthrough for more information. And if you decide to join us, you can use coupon code BBRShow to take a whole $100 off of the tuition. Again, that URL to get all the details about my one-day business breakthrough intensive can be found at bbrshow.com/ODB. All right, we are back with Lou Diamond. So let's talk about how this all started for you. Like, how did you kind of come to this? Because you weren't always thriving loudly, even though you were a successful leader. Yeah. Can you take us back a little bit?
Yeah. This is interesting. I have had a very successful career And it has varied and waved into different roles. I never actually knew that the main thing that I do, which is helping people thrive, was where it would all lead to. Truth be told, I started off in my dad's jewelry store. I was literally opening up and managing it for summers and holidays. And I probably learned more in a store that was 60 feet long and 9 feet wide and had tons of customers and how to interact with people. And that's really where I learned a lot of my people selling skills. Go sell jewelry in a block where there were probably 15 jewelry stores, something that is not necessarily a need. And let me tell you, you need to figure out that it isn't just about the item. It's going to be about the relationship that you have. I worked in consulting and professional services. I then headed up sales of a large company called Organic, which is still around today. Actually, it's part of the Omnicom family. And then I worked on Wall Street for a very long time. And in that role, I had an institutional role helping in the fixed income products area. In that, I recognized that I was limiting myself because I wasn't really tapping into what I loved to do best. I loved working in all of those roles, whether consulting, whether actually doing the work with clients and connecting with them. What I recognized though is I wanted to help other people do it. My leadership style, the way that I actually connected with clients was not this typical Wall Street way of doing it. A lot of people can be very aggressive. It almost felt there were some people who were disingenuous in the way that they would connect to people. And I recognized that what I did was a little different. So I had shifted that in a time when I actually sought out a business coach, Nicole, that helped get me on track to figure out what I wanted to do next. Because I'd been doing really well. I was very successful. I was very happy with it, but I was not happy. And not being happy is not a good thing. Someone recently who I interviewed in a podcast show had a great quote. They said, happiness is an inside job. You kind of have to work on yourself really to figure out how to make yourself happy and take yourself to the next level. And I did that with a coach, but then I recognized that what I loved doing was connecting with others. That really made me excited and watching them grow and connect from that, watching them close more business, watching their startup companies launch to new levels. A client I've been working with added almost $11 million in sales to their business, which was basically a 20% jump in their revenue growth after I'd been working them for a year, which is awesome. Like to know that you would have that type of impact and helping them do that. So the expertise I had as an individual growing up on my own journey has really made me focus on that's what I'm able to do the best. And that's what I love doing for companies. And it's so exciting to see that. One of my favorite phone calls was this company that I'd worked with recently. I gave a keynote address at this company event, and I didn't get to meet everybody at this company, but there were a lot of people there. And one of the sales people who was in that conference sent me an email. This was about 2 weeks ago. And they said he just closed his biggest deal he's ever done at the company. And he used a lot of the tools of the connecting core to help really establish that relationship. And what I was so excited about was one, that connected with him. Two, that it was what I sent back to him that made it even better. I would go, great, I'm so excited that you've done this. Now let's take it to the next level. And he got all more excited about that because that's the type of thing that I'm always looking to do, is that you can use your connections to extend your growth, but you could also use them on yourself to continue to push yourself on who you need to help out and who you want to grow with.
Awesome. So tell me what are you most excited about today? Like, what are you working on? That's great. And what's sort of, I don't even know. Like, I feel like there's something going on for you that needs to be shared. So what's the next sort of evolution, or what are you working on today?
What's Lou 3.0 or 4.0, like all these different models. By the way, if it's coming from a technology perspective, I'm definitely Nicole will know the answer. So here's what's going on for Lou, which is exciting. There's many more, I'm doing a lot more speaking and a lot more keynotes. I'm actually adapted a lot of my message, the way that I've done it in a way that's a little bit more interactive and more fun now, which makes it really cool. So I get large audiences to do lots of things, which is always challenging. I took a lot of what I did in workshops and added it that way. Thrive Loud has blown up. I mean, it's ridiculous. We joke about the number of guests that I had. It was getting to the point that if I didn't increase the number of shows per week, if I interviewed you today, you weren't going on until like the fall. And we're in the winter recording this right now. So I'm like, that's just wrong. So we added more shows, which is great. We created a little bit more content in there. And then something unbelievable happened. And at the time, I don't know when we're going to air this. However, there's a new show that I'm actually getting involved with, which is pretty cool. A lot of the thriving companies that I've been dealing with are around a big topic here on our planet, and I say that specifically, in being more green. And Thrive has some green colors in our logos, which is pretty cool. So I was approached by this group called Green Matters, and we're launching a new show called Greenbacks. Me and this absolutely amazing co-host, Natalie Molina Nino, who is the head of Bravo Investments. She and I are partnering together, and we are tackling and doing almost like a car chat, car talk, if you remember that from that show, with some unbelievable leaders in sustainability, in business growth. Because green isn't just people wrapping themselves around a tree where the bulldozer coming and protecting themselves, or making sure, you don't burn the forest. No, this is $1 trillion business that we're dealing with. And a lot of these companies, we want to check how really valid their growth is, where the opportunities are, and how people have transformed their businesses to focus on sustainability. It is a huge revenue bucket that's out there, and people are doing amazing things with it, Nicole. So this new show is launching. It's actually not just a podcast show. It's also going to be video on a YouTube channel, which is really cool. We're filming it in the YouTube studios here in New York City, and it's pretty awesome. So I'm kind of excited about that. More speaking, more events, and some other things that I can't announce just yet. But when they're there, there's lots of things happening in the Thrive Loud world.
Very cool. I'm glad I asked, because I actually had no idea about the new show. And so, you had mentioned something to me a while back. Hey, I'm considering doing something, but you didn't give me any of the details. I think it was when I was in New York and we were having a coffee. But I had no idea. That was an inspired question. So yay.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Very excited. One thing I did want to ask you about, because usually on this show, we usually get into like journey and stories and stuff, but I don't know, we're hopping all over the place. And one of the things that I think is really cool about how you're running your business is you work with a lot of young people. And speaking of sustainability, just in another way, I'm a huge advocate for helping young people have a hand up, not a hand out, but a hand up, and helping them really see like the insides. I know that when I was a kid, I was always looking for those opportunities, and my drive led me to having some great mentors at a very early age, which led me to working in professional sports and entertainment at a very early age and doing some really, really cool stuff that was like dream come true kind of stuff. And so one of the things that I know you're really skilled at and gifted at is working with interns and helping others get involved with interns. And so can you speak a little bit about, first of all, how kind of you came upon this intern idea or community, or how to build your business using interns, and then sort of the process that people could adopt if they want to follow in your footsteps?
So I am the biggest advocate of, if you are not really good at something, you get somebody that is way better at it to do it for you. Now, this might also apply to house plumbing and activities around the house, which my wife has mentioned to me many times that it would be nice if I would get a little bit better with this. But I've translated it mostly over to business. And one of the things that was absolutely prevalent as I was building the brand of Thrive Loud, of Thrive, and myself as Lou, was that a lot of the things that we use in social media, this was even before the podcast program came out, I didn't have that much adeptness with. I went to Cornell University, and I'm very involved with the communications department at Cornell. And it started off, I grabbed like 1 or 2 interns a semester. I actually went up and spoke at the class, this class called Business Communication, actually Media Communications, which is the name of the class, excuse me. Great class, unbelievable abilities of how people are using media technologies in business today. What I ended up doing, Nicole, was recognizing these interns can help out with lots of activities, marketing activities, social media. And as the podcast show was created, I also recognized I had additional audio editor, montages, marketing tools with things that I wasn't as familiar with. As Instagram has become more popular, I just learned how to use stories on Instagram. I'm very excited about that. The interns were not only helping me, but they were actually adept at running it and taking it with it into a whole new level. So from all the marketing activities that have gone on, I give as much of that responsibilities and give a creative freedom to college students and people who just graduated college. A lot of them have come to me at different stages of their career where they're trying to learn a little bit about that. Some of it is an internship. And in some cases, I've had people work for me over the summer, and I love it because it's a great opportunity for them to learn how a small business, because Thrive is a small business. We have about like 5 or 6 people, but these interns add a tremendous amount of value. I also love it because since I'm a communications major and on a podcast show, my interns are getting a lot of airtime. When we introduce a show, they're doing all the intros. They're actually on with me as we talk about a certain episode that they may have actually edited so they can add some value to the content. It's a great experience, and I am the biggest fan of this medium. I now have 3 interns every semester. So we're cycling through tons of great people. They're getting unbelievable experience. And the best part is that all of the people that have interned with Thrive are getting jobs, whether it's they're younger in their early college years and they're getting summer jobs afterwards or full-time employment afterwards through the connections that they've had in this experience. In many instances, they're getting jobs at companies that I have done business with. So I'm actually using my interns as a great fodder for that. I'm actually hoping to get to the place that I start taking some of these interns and just keep them because they're so good, but they're so amazing at what they do. And just as a sharing, I've shared this idea with other people in businesses like me. The Nice Guys on Business podcast have taken a couple of interns and love that idea. And we've shared this as well. You recently were at an event and had a college student come and help you from Quinnipiac University. So this is a great way to get exposure at an early age to some amazing senior level people and they're looking to do it and they do an amazing job. So I'm the biggest fan of this, of using interns as much as you can, but most importantly, giving them real tasks, real responsibility and accountability. And they will not only deliver, they will thrive.
They'll thrive. I love it. So if somebody is listening and like, yeah, I totally want to do that, because I'll tell you, for me, again, just having a real desire to support young people, much of my career was working with youth. And I'm always looking for opportunities that are win-win-win. And I believe that the more we mentor, the more we support, the more we teach, the more those people can go on and do great things as they grow, and they get to grow in a faster way. But one of the things that I ran up against was when I went to the local university here, it seemed like it was a big undertaking to get an intern, and like I just wasn't clear on what to do. So would you mind sharing any of those kind of first steps if somebody's listening and saying, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense, but where do I start? What do I do?
Great question, by the way. I had a great connection within the heads of the departments that make the most sense. Obviously, you and I are in a communication space, or public relations space is another area. So that could be within the business or marketing departments. When I tell you that the faculty of these programs love support from the outside in any way they can, they do. They just have very little time to go do it. So it is a little proactiveness to reach out and find those people. And based on the universities that you go through, you can identify who those key people are, reach out to them. They will look to you and say, okay, this is something that I need. And trust me, they are the best channel into the students. Whether you can ask them to speak in a class, they would love that. Find the appropriate topic that you can connect with the most. You and I have specific niches that make sense. If your listeners are listening and there's something that they would like to do, find the avenue within the universities that makes the most sense. Universities, in the spirit of connection and what we've been talking about on this program, are looking to connect to the business world as much as they can, not only just to get jobs for their soon-to-be graduate students, or their undergraduate students who graduate. They're really looking to be able to bring the two worlds together so that the study of the books and the things that they're learning has practical value in the real world, where it does and it doesn't. And that's the type of stuff that we can help connect for them. So be an advocate for your local university, whatever's around there. And don't be afraid to go tap into whatever levels you can and ask as high as you can, because you will get through there. They are looking for help always.
Great to know. And I do want to just give a special shout out to Gabby Perrone. She helped me out in New York. She came along and joined me at the NRF's National Retail Federation's big show. It's NRF 2018. There's so many words there, and I want to make sure I get the names right. But yeah, Gabby was great. And it was in that way, not an official internship. I just had put something out on Facebook to my friends and to my community and said, hey, I'm coming to New York City and I need help with this event. So does anybody know an intern-esque kind of person who would love to come behind the scenes and get into the press room and get to have some experience there? And I was amazed that I had more people say yes than I actually could manage. And even that it was a weekend and it was during a winter break and all this stuff. So I think also just being willing to ask and also knowing what you want to or not want to, but what you're willing, how you're willing to compensate them. And something that you taught me is that it's experience is more powerful than the money. And that was a shift for me because I'm used to working with assistants who are looking at how much am I going to get for this rather than how much am I going to get for this? And so I had to remember that, again, when I was young, I couldn't have cared less about money. I wanted the experience. I wanted to meet the important people. I knew that, going as Steve's sidekick to the Washington Bullets meant I got to sit right behind the bench, right behind Mark Allery and Rex Chapman. I got to walk on the court. I got to get to know, I know these are like old school names, but I got to get to know the community relations director. I got to spend time in these negotiations and meetings with these people. I got to it was that prestige and that was that experience. And I think the first time I did that, I was 15. I was very young and I'm 42 now. And I still remember what it felt like to walk onto the basketball court and to the smell of sweat, and if you will, right? So yeah, I think sometimes we forget, as at least I had, that, there are people out there, there are young people out there who want to hustle and want to experience. And it's not about the money, it's about the experience. And so the more we can teach and give them the opportunity to have that role, that's not just, oh, you're just here or, just do this, go grab coffee, but actually include them in the experience is pretty powerful.
The only thing I'll add to this is that for those that are thinking you don't necessarily need a university formal type of internship program, you can do it ad hoc initially to see what works. The university is the most natural funnel for it, to the point that you had. It wasn't a formalized thing. You were trying to find somebody to help. There's plenty of people out there. Start off with that and figure out what works best, and then see if it's something that works for you. And do not be afraid do not even set a limit. Break open your mind on limiting beliefs on what your interns can do for you, because they will always amaze you at what they can do, especially if you get that go-getter type attitude you're talking.
Yes. And actually just one more thing, because I have an email in my inbox right now where I saw the first few words there where the girl said, yes, in big letters, I'm totally in. I have something that I want to implement in terms of building a bot and doing some pretty crazy fun stuff, but I don't have the time. And I was looking for a while, who can I hire to do this? And then I came across this girl that I had interviewed for a position and I wound up not being able to hire her, but I really liked her. And I really had that sense that she was a go-getter. And so I made her an offer essentially that, we have an agreement for how long she puts in and what she does. And I'll put her through the training and I will support her and mentor her to actually build a business around this for herself. So she's not looking for jobs anymore. And so I made that proposal and, told her to think about it and speak with her family and consider it. And then, so I just got an email this morning saying, yes, I'm totally in. And so I haven't read the rest of it, but it's exciting because it's such a win-win.
Mm-hmm. I like the win-win-win. It's win for you, win for the intern, and win for your whole business as in all of it. So, and
their life, she's having, she wants to build something for her family, and that's somewhere that I can help. And so that's awesome. So I thank you for sharing about your internship program and how you've done it. I know you've got to go. So before we get to the end, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Any final words of wisdom, anything you want to leave our audience with, and then we'll talk about where people connect and be a part of the Thrive Loud community.
I sign off all of my shows, be brief, be bright, be gone. And I think this is a message it's more about the fact that we want to just get our message with a really smart point and then kind of just leave it with that. And I think that's actually really important to your listeners. There are a lot of tasks you have to do, whether you're an entrepreneur, you are that business rock star, and you're trying to figure out what the next level is. try not to overthink too much. Try to keep your focus each day on limited things that are really, really tactical. If you try to take on too much at one time, we know what happens. It's almost like you don't really do a quality job in all the things you need to get done. So that type of way that you need to communicate with people, brief, bright, gone. Don't be long-winded. Try to keep your emails short. Try to keep your points to the point. People know that we're busy. We got a lot of things to do. And the more on top of it we are, the more that your connections will appreciate it.
Wonderful. And to get more from Lou Diamond, where can people go?
Drum roll. So pretty much everywhere on social media, just hit @ThriveLoud. You will find me. It's on from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. All of that is at ThriveLoud. And in addition, you go to thriveloud.com. You will see everything that we do at Thrive. And most notably, if you are interested in having me speak at your company, you can go to loudiamond.net.
Yeah. And the podcast. Also go into Apple or any of your podcast players and look, Thrive Loud.
Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. And you go to thriveloud.com, you will see the podcast link right there as well. So get to see great episodes like one that's coming up real soon with somebody named Nicole Holland. I don't know.
No, mine
it's already been out.
By the time that this goes to air, it will have been out for a few months, or a couple months.
It's a really good episode. I highly recommend it. And
yes, but I have to say, it still bothers me because I listened to it and I'm like, I think the audio is a little bit off because I kept talking over you.
You weren't talking over me. Maybe you always talk over people. I don't know. No, you don't. I'm just kidding.
We talk a lot, but it really is. It's like literally I'm talking, and maybe nobody else would. I notice it's driving me nuts. So guys, just know I talk with Lou, but I didn't like. I'm like, what's going on there?
You're gonna have to make me go back and look at it. I don't even think it was that case, but we'll check it out.
It's terrible. I mean, the content's amazing. You're amazing. Yeah. It's just, I was like, ugh. That's my detail-oriented brain going off there. But yeah, I loved the conversation, and we definitely talked about things that I'm not used to talking about, and in ways that I'm not used to sharing. So I had a lot of fun with you, and I always have fun with you. And there's so many great episodes though. You're an amazing host and you have amazing guests. So it's a pleasure to listen. And if people enjoy this show, you guys check out Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
I will tell you that it is equally, we've only improved upon our conversation in this episode. This was really good. We covered a lot of good stuff, some really fun things. We have two very cool voices. And for those in the special group that you have going on, I mean, my goodness, you got to see us in action here in what is the BBR headquarters and Thrive Loud madness over here. So you even see a little bit of the green in the background here.
And you know what? I'm going to plug that real quick because I've been talking about the Listeners Lounge, but I haven't actually, at time of recording, it's not there yet. And I haven't actually done the ad for it, but we are working behind the scenes. So hopefully by the time this episode airs, it will be in existence already. It's very close. But it's a membership area right now, at least at time of recording. There's no cost, just for the listeners. And you get the video, the unedited videos of all of the interviews before they're even released on the airwaves. So it's just a little value add and a way that my listeners can get more involved in the community.
I'll make a deal with you. I will get my Rockstar interns to actually help promote this special group, and we'll send it out as a special message through social media, which they do a great job of, so that once you have the instructions and release on how to go do it, which by the time this airs, we would have, the way that people would have gotten here might be some of the people that help support it. That sound good? That sound in line with what you want to do?
See, we're speaking in the future here, guys. So if you're listening to the podcast, this is like weird. So if you're listening right now, in the Listeners Lounge, if you're watching us right now, then I expect there's going to be, my plan is that there's going to be comments section below. So let us know, did you come from Lou's Amazing Interns, or how did you get here? I want to know that in the comments section below. If you are listening and you're like, WTF, well, come on over to bbrshow.com. I don't have the exact link right now, but if you search Listeners Lounge, you'll find out at bbrshow.com how to get into our secret portal. So, woo.
We're doing some dancing here too, which is always a lot of fun. I'm looking way more formal than I normally do on the video here today. I'm wearing like the shirt with because I got to go to this presentation I'm doing later. Normally I'm just casual as can be here, but this is pretty cool. And it's been awesome being on here. So, and actually an honor because it's a show I'm a fan of. And just to be here and be amongst the many amazing people that have come on there is pretty freaking cool. So thank you for having me.
Been a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here, Lou.
Always.
And there you have it. If you enjoyed this episode of the Business Building Rockstars Show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you don't miss a thing. And visit bbrshow.com for all the show notes and links to resources discussed on today's show. Plus, lots more.